The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. This is Wildcat Insider with the Mercury sports editor Tim Everson and KMAN sports director Mitch Fortner.
Well, K-State men's basketball ends its regular season. The K-State women's basketball team now waits 2 weeks to play their first round game in the NCAA tournament, but the question is about the women. It's not will they, the question is should they be hosting the first and second round of the NCAA tournament. That's coming up in hour number 2, along with the voice of the Cats, Wyatt Thompson, joining us at 5:10. K-State baseball has its new star. We've seen it now for 3 weeks now of consistent baseball from Maximus Martin, who, the question is, did he receive Big 12 Player of the Week for the second year in a row after hitting 5 dingers? He had a grand slam in a 3-game series sweep over the weekend of William and Mary as the Cats opened up play at Toynton Family Stadium. We have all Big 12 awards out for men's basketball. Jerome Tang has landed 2 recruits. They have wrapped up the regular season with a record of 15-16. Welcome to Wildcat Insider. Mitch Fortner alongside with Tim Everson from the Manhattan Mercury. Jimmy Kaufman is across the glass. He is running our board today along with Cole Dutchendorf. He's doing the training today. He's observing and teaching. And our phone number and text line is 785-537-1350 if you want to get in touch with the show. Again, you can call or text us, 785-537-1350. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions or address your comments about men's basketball, women's basketball, baseball. I guess you have a football question, we can answer that as well. But we're still, of course, a few weeks out from spring football getting underway. Tim, let's lead off with K-State Hoops today. On the men's side, we'll get to the women a little bit later on. And again, the big question, should they be hosting the first and second round of the NCAA tournament? There's really 2 ways to look at that. Meanwhile, for the men, it's can they get to the college basketball crown? Are they going to make it to that? Are they NIT bound? Or, well, I don't think they're going to make a run to the NCAA tournament. They need to win 5 in a row. They're going to be a first-round team of the NCAA tournament. They're coming off a 13-point loss to Iowa State. I don't know if I necessarily want to talk about the game.
I don't.
Necessarily. It was just, it was one of, 4 double-digit home losses this year for K-State. 3 of them in Big 12 play. The other one, of course, and still to me, is the roughest loss when it comes to the non-conference, even though, yes, the loss at Wichita State was a disaster. The LSU loss at home with Cam Carter coming back absolutely sucked. That was a double-digit loss. Cats lose to Iowa State. K-State could not hit a 3 to save their lives. They finished the regular season shooting 22% from 3 the last 5 games. Coleman Hawkins is not healthy. David Gasson got a standing ovation that he deserved. I thought there were more students there than I was certainly expecting. Now, there weren't many. Maybe a fifth. And maybe I'm being generous, but it felt like a fifth of the student section was full. It was also Fake Patty's Day. Jimmy knows all about Fake Patty's Day. I'm sure he was out in green, not in purple, on Saturday. Am I right about that? Green over purple on Saturday?
I plead the fifth.
Okay. You're probably not alone on that one. Didn't seem like there was as many arrests this year. I think there was only 6.
No, a lot of citations.
Citations.
Citation, I know.
Make the city a little money, you know what I'm saying? The arrests were pretty limited. So K-State finishes the regular season 15-16. 9-11 in Big 12 play. Talked about last week, K-State's Big 12 record. The work they got done there is honestly NCAA tournament worthy. The non-conference completely screwed them over. They did it to themselves.
Yeah.
They got embarrassed a lot of times, and now K-State would have to go on a hell of a run to get the automatic bid and qualify for the NCAA tournament. Where do you want to go first with this, Tim? Do you want to mention anything about the regular season? Is there anything you want to say at all before we move on and talk about recruiting and talk about the All Big 12 selections?
Well, just going back real quick, you mentioned that LSU loss, and I think that we should kind of put a capper on that because that really is kind of – it feels like the loss that kind of defines what this season has been. Do you know what LSU's record ended up being?
I think they only won 2 SEC games. Is that right?
They ended up 3-15 in the SEC, which – was supposedly the best conference in college basketball this year. So, fine. They ended their overall record 14-17. 14-17. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's bad.
It's so bad. And it was bad. It felt bad at the time because of the emotions with Cam coming back and everything. They were still trying to figure out what this team was and what they were going to be. But there was hopes that this was going to be a good LSU team. But it wasn't. There was hopes at the time that, like, okay, Wichita State's starting to turn on. Maybe they're going to make a run at the American. No. They're also not good. Drake is really the only kind of saving grace of that whole run.
And St. Joseph's, but that's
or
not
St. John's, yeah.
Or St. John's, rather.
St. John's.
That's not a bad loss, though.
That's not
a really
bad
good
loss.
Team.
The Drake loss is one of K-State's best losses of the year. I mean, they're America's darling right now. It's just my biggest emotion is just can we be done? Can we wrap this up, please?
There's nothing exciting.
No, and it's like
to come.
Okay, great. We're gonna go play a couple more games in Vegas against teams that were also disappointing.
Yeah, for those who don't know, there's a new tournament called the College Basketball Crown. It's a tournament that was invented by Fox because they don't have any postseason basketball. Mm-hmm. And so because they have an agreement with the Big 12, Big 10, and the Big East, the top 2 teams in the standings that do not go to the NCAA tournament will qualify automatically for this tournament in Vegas. It's a week-long 16 teams, there's 10 at-large bids that are up for grabs. So K-State, technically finishes 10th. So if 8 teams get into the NCAA tournament, which seems like it's kind of right there for the Big 12, half of the conference can get in. That could mean a week-long trip to Vegas for K-State, which I think would be the week before the Final Four. So it'd be Sweet 16, Elite 8 week. Which it's a new tournament, I guess. A week in Vegas sounds kind of nice.
I don't hate that, and I like the bowl game type concept of extending the season for the guys that are going to be here next year. More practice time, especially for those younger guys. Maybe get some guys like by fall some more real time practicing. Get Moby more time. Get David Castillo more time. I'm not against that necessarily, but it's just like, can you just go do that over there? And we'll just catch up with you next year because it's just been such an emotionally like last year was its own thing because of the Naquan situation. Lots of emotions tied into that, lots of negative, tough emotions tied into that. And then this was supposed to be the lift from that. This was supposed to be, all right, we survived that. We hung on to Tang. We fought off Arkansas. We have one of the best transfer classes in the country, according to people who were supposed to be experts at this thing.
Spent a lot of money. One of the highest
that was
bankrolls
supposed to be a good thing. And the fall on their faces. They have some saving graces. They go on the run to at least show that there is still there's some competency here that can be worked with. It's not all throw the whole thing away. The first, the Elite 8 year was all smoke and mirrors, luck. And that's great. But, excuse me, I'm still several weeks away from recovering from influenza A, and the cough will not get away from me. But I'm just kind of done. I'm just kind of done. I don't need any more. I just want to be done. Baseball's having a great time. I'd rather focus on that.
And this is coming from, you're not just a journalist, you're a K-State fan.
Yeah.
You're speaking on the K-State fan side of things. And when I say that, I would like a week in Vegas, that's just because I'm a Vegas guy. I can find a lot to do in Vegas that entertains myself. There's a haunted museum from Zach Bagans that I'd love to go check out.
I've heard of that. I'd love to check that out too.
I like that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm into it.
Absolutely.
For some, a week in Vegas is way too long, but at least there's some basketball to also keep you entertained. And I'm with you as well. The extra practice time, the extra experience, that'd be great. Again, we don't know who's all going to come back. The only one we know actually for sure really is Max Jones.
If he can.
Yeah. He says he's full on coming back if he can get the extra year or 2 years of eligibility, whatever he can get.
Which is great.
Because he played D2 basketball, that whole lawsuit thing with a Wisconsin player. We know about it, right? That would be wonderful. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, I can't figure out Doug McDaniel. I would assume Brendan Hausen. He just got the opportunity of a lifetime for the kind of player he is to be a starter and try to be more of just he's no more than a role player, right? But he got a hell of an opportunity here, and even he's kind of started to fall flat here at the end of the regular season. It's been harder to get him shots. There's no doubt. The rest of the way with recruiting for 2025, you need some portal guys that are better than what you have, that can replace, the what David Gasson did this year. And, David Gasson today got honorable mention All Big 12. Coleman Hawkins got third team All Big 12. Guys that can maybe be a little bit more than that, or at least you hope that they can be a little bit better than that. For the 2025 as well, at least some positivity we got out of recruiting this week with 2 high school recruits who are late bloomers to the class, have committed to K-State, 6'6" wing out of Madison, Mississippi, and Ashton McGee, who, watching his high school film, reminds me of the young Wesley Awundu. He's got the same kind of frame, the same kind of style, and he's a stat stuffer. He's kind of exciting. I think he's going to grade out pretty well when it comes to recruiting sources. On 3 is Xavier Wilson, who's a point guard out of Columbia, Missouri, but went to a private school in the Kansas City area. Don't have any stats on him, but West Virginia was recruiting him pretty hard. I think Missouri was interested. I'm not sure they ever gave him an offer or not. But he, the next day, has committed to K-State. And now the word on the street is that K-State may be also not only transfer portal for 2025, the international, go across the pond, look over in Europe, and can K-State go out to Europe and land some dudes out there? Some guys that are getting maybe some NBA potential type of looks type of thing. So, it's still to be seen. There's one player, Francisco Ferrari. When I saw that name, I was like, I need to announce that name.
Yeah.
Let's make that happen. Francisco Ferrari. I think that's how you say his name. I don't know for a fact. I can pull it up here because I have his notes right here. So it's Francisco, not like San Francisco.
Right.
Francesco
yeah.
Ferrari. He's 19 years old. He's from Italy. He's got looks at the same area as SMU, DePaul. And then the other player, Mateo something or other. He's another Spain, Barcelona guy, NBA potential, 6'5", Louisville, who is back from the ashes like a phoenix, is interested in this guy as well. So we'll see. How do I put this? Not a whole lot of excitement probably unless K-State goes and lands a big name in the transfer portal. And when I name by big name, one of the top dogs in the transfer portal. If they are able to land somebody like that, that's where you're going to get excitement. Probably not a whole lot going to be generated for a while here.
Sure. That would for the masses that would create excitement. I will be excited. I'm excited about these 2 high school kids, just because they had David Castillo. We don't know what's going to happen with Buddy, but odds are that entire freshman class is going to be gone after 2 years.
I would be shocked if Buddy Rich comes back.
I would be shocked as well.
He has been camping on that bench all Big 12 play, with the exception of 2 games he returns, and then coach calls him out for not playing hard. Like, yeah, that relationship probably isn't great anymore.
At a certain point, like how many signs need to be hung in Hy-Vee or at the corner of whatever intersection welcoming, these 5-star kids that we're just not in the position of landing right now. It's just not happening. I would much prefer find some guys that have that love of basketball that Tang says is a priority, that will come in and work 1,000 times harder than everyone else. Because those are the guys that K-State fans get excited for. Those are the guys that these coaches want to coach and get excited about coaching. This group is there now, but as we've seen, like getting there midway through conference play doesn't get you anything. And so I would be excited if they find a way to fix the team again, because it's been 2 years now, the first year with some exceptions, where that just hasn't, the pieces have not meshed or have not meshed as quickly as they needed to. And that's been very detrimental to success for this team. And so that will make me excited once things that are more geared towards that happen.
Let's go ahead and take a timeout on Wildcat Insider. I'm going to have Tim predict the men's Big 12 tournament coming up in hour number 2. Speaking of hour number 2, we're going to get Wyatt Thompson's thoughts on K-State men's basketball heading into the postseason Big 12 tournament, which starts tomorrow against Arizona State. Pregame coverage at 5 o'clock right here on K-Man. K-State baseball will be tomorrow and Wednesday, online only from Omaha, Nebraska. More details on that, because when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, K-State Athletics, I should say just K-State Athletics, has a new star. But specifically, it's K-State baseball. Their hot run has a face. That's coming up next, Wildcat Insider.
You're listening to Wildcat Insider.
Are you tired of that outdated kitchen? Is your basement more dungeon than hangout, or do you need a complete new home build? Well, no matter what you're looking for, Greg Wyatt Construction has been making home dreams come true for over 30 years. Greg Wyatt Construction is the licensed, experienced professional builder that will give you the quality craftsmanship that you can trust. Don't believe me? Go online and look at his reviews. Give Greg Wyatt Construction a call at 785-313-3819 and build something amazing together.
Loaded tortilla soup is back at Qdoba. Savory veggie broth packed with flavor from tomatoes, peppers, onions, and spices. Enjoy loaded tortilla soup in a bowl or crunchy tortilla shell with your favorite protein and craveable toppings. That's right, the soup sensation fans have been raving about has returned, but not for long, so get it while it's hot. Order today at your local Qdoba, online at qdoba.com, or in the app.
Suicide is often a silent struggle, but no one has to face it alone. If you or someone you love is feeling hopeless, remember, there is help and there is hope. Reaching out is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of courage. Together, we can turn pain into healing and despair into strength. Help is always available. Visit Pawnee Mental Health's Crisis Stabilization Unit at 1558 Hayes Drive or call our crisis hotline at 1-800-609-2002. Both available 24/7. You don't have to face this alone. Help is just a call away.
The word father means a lot to me. Being that support system for them, and as a man, that's important in a child's life. I think men can be a little stubborn sometimes, where they may want the help, they may not know how to ask. It's hard for a man to speak his emotions. Those tears, they mean something. In Arapaho way, tears are water and water is life. And when you shed those tears, that's love. That's real love. Sometimes as dads, I think we're too hard on ourselves. Life can come at you really quick, and it can be really tough at times. But then you put that one foot in front of the other, and you keep doing the right thing. Slowly that voice goes away, you know? Arapaho way, you gotta pray for yourself, as well as for everybody else, but never forget yourself.
Never stop being a dad. That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
There are many times I thought, I can't do this. I mean, what parent isn't worried about, what am I not doing right? What am I not doing enough? And then I realized, wait, that's being a parent.
Don't worry about being perfect. I've had around 3 other mother figures in my life, but only one of them has taught me how a mother loves.
The greatest reward for me is he makes me better every day.
I would tell a family considering adopting a teenager that teenager, whoever it is, needs you, and they need what you have to offer.
Taylor's giving me hope. He's our son, and that is what he will always be.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council. We asked parents to share their journey of adopting teens.
They changed who I am because I can't see life without them in it.
Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Within Reason with Mike Madsen on News Radio, KMAN.
Will we ever get that bridge north of Blue Township? We'll ask Potawatomi County Commissioner Dee McKee Tuesday.
Within Reason with Mike Madsen, weekday mornings at 9 on News Radio, KMAN.
I'm Jimmy Kaufman with a Wildcat Insider Sports Update. Seniors David Gasson and Coleman Hawkins were both named to all Big 12 teams, the conference announced on Sunday. Hawkins, who found himself on the all Big 12 third team, became the first Wildcat named to one of the 3 all Big 12 teams since Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson were both members of the first team in 2023. Gasson was an honorable mention. Thanks to a pair of 2 homer outings and a combined 12 RBIs in its weekend series against William & Mary, Kansas State's Maximus Martin has been named USA Baseball's Golden Spikes Player of the Week. Martin compiled a .667 batting average in 3 games last week and helped the Wildcats earn a series sweep over the Tribe. 6 of his 8 hits on the weekend were for extra bases, which included 5 home runs, and he currently ranks 3rd nationally this season in batting average with .524. The Kansas City Chiefs have been busy on the first day of free agency, signing 2 players from San Francisco. Former 49ers offensive tackle Jalen Moore signed a 2-year, $30 million contract with the Chiefs, and a contract that includes over $21 million guaranteed. Running back Elijah Mitchell, also a former 49er, inked a 1-year deal in Kansas City worth up to $3.5 million. Mitchell struggled to stay healthy in San Francisco, including missing all of last season with a hamstring injury.
I don't know about y'all, but I was very entertained by K-State baseball over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Were you entertained?
Very much so.
Jimmy, were you entertained?
Oh, I loved it. I was working board here for the first game, and K-State looked amazing.
That's in reference to Gladiator, Maximus.
Oh, that's...
I didn't even catch it.
I chatted with Maximus Martin last week. And I asked him, I was like, so where does the name come from? Gladiator. You know, his parents watched Gladiator.
So it is.
Had a baby.
Okay.
Maximus.
That's
there it
so
is.
Awesome. Okay.
So, Maximus Martin, K-State baseball, who started 1-5 to begin the year, 1-4 to begin the year, and since then they're gone 8-1. They're on a hot streak. Their only loss to the number 1 team in the nation, the LSU Tigers, in extra innings. And for the second straight week, Maximus Martin has received a Big 12 Weekly Honor. Last week, Big 12 Player of the Week. This week, not the same. So I'm gonna give you 2 polls here, 2 poll questions as I go back to my Twitter account to pull up the information, because certainly Maximus Martin had a hell of a week. There's a reason why he was up for Big 12 Player of the Week. He did not get it. But I'm going to give you 2 blind resumes here. One player went 8 for 12, 5 home runs, 12 RBI, 7 runs in 3 games. The other player was 10 of 20, 4 doubles, 2 home runs, 8 runs, 16 RBI in 5 games. So who gets the award? Player A or Player B? This is a K-State show. You can say A.
It's A. I mean,
it's A.
It's
yeah.
A.
I think it's absolutely A. And it's not like, because Player of the Week was Houston Xavier Perez. They played Grambling State and some other jabroni. They played 5 games. K-State would have played 4. One of them against Creighton, a pretty decent ball team. But that got weathered out. Don't know if that's ever going to be made up, but for right now, it's canceled. Look, Max Martin had a hell of a weekend. Friday goes 1 for 3 with a solo shot, runs scored, RBI. 2 for 4 with 2 home runs. He had a grand slam and a 3-run homer, a total of 8 RBIs. His 8 RBIs on the day, the most by K-State players since 2018. And Cats run ruled William and Mary. And then yesterday, 5 for 5. 2 home runs, 2 more home runs. 4 runs scored, 3 RBIs. Nobody is hotter in baseball right now at the plate than Maximus Martin. He did not get Big 12 Player of the Week. He got Big 12 Co-Newcomer of the Week. But you know what? The Golden Spikes Award. Those people, they know what's up because they named Maximus Martin the Player of the Week, the Golden Spikes Player of the Week.
You got to tell the people what you were telling me in the break about what Max did last year and how that compares.
So, interesting story because, again, I had him on last week. We had a one-on-one conversation. Asked him a little bit about last year, his run prior to coming to K-State, because as a freshman, he went to Rutgers. Sophomore year last year, he was at Georgia State. This year, he has another year of eligibility, hopefully here with K-State. So last year, because, looking at the numbers here, he already has 7 home runs on the year. 7 home runs. Didn't really play the first week. 7 home runs. All of last year, he only had 3. 3 total home runs at Georgia State. And I remember this is probably the number one thing I took away from the interview. I asked him, so when you get here, what's the biggest thing you're working on? He said the number one thing we worked on is he worked with Austin Waits to hit for power. Austin Waits is already a phenomenal hitting coach. That might be the best endorsement of the coaching from Austin Waits I've heard since he's been here. That is a hell of an endorsement. Like his if he's going to go work somewhere else, that money just went a little bit higher of what he's going to be asking because he has blossomed the best hitter in college baseball right now. Maximus Martin, as I pull up my notes here, in Big 12, for all the hitters in the Big 12, he is right now second in batting average at .524. He's first in home runs and slugging, or first in the Big 12 in slugging percentage. His OPS is third. His on-base plus slugging is first in the conference. His home runs first in the conference at 7. He has the second most RBIs with 23, but nobody's hitting dingers right now like Maximus Martin. You cannot sneak a piece of cheese across the plate against Maximus Martin. And I don't want to make this whole segment about him, but this has been an explosion of one player like we've never seen this early in a career since the arrival of Maximus Martin. And this started in Arlington, Texas. He was Big 12 Player of the Week from his run in Frisco, Texas. And you're playing a total right there of 5 top 25 teams. And you come home and nothing was slowing down for Maximus Martin. First pitch was a home run in the first inning. Grand slam. And he's making it look pretty easy. Plus, just K-State offensively in general was quite electric with batting .400, 12 total home runs. Again, I don't want to make this all about Maximus Martin, but you had 2 home runs from Keegan O'Connor. You had 1 apiece from AJ Vasco, Shintaro Inoue, and Bear Madliak. That's another player. AJ Vasco is a freshman, and he started all weekend. He got a little work at first base. He played a couple of games at right field. That guy's a pretty consistent player. And over the weekend, he had .455. He was 5 for 11. He scored 3 runs. He did not strike out 1 time. He had a walk. That's pretty promising. But right now, this thing is led by Maximus Martin. I was a little offended he did not get Big 12 Player of the Week. twice in a row. Let me ask you this. Who had a bigger weekend? Because I had a moment. I picked up the Xbox controller and played a little Call of Duty. And I got on the multiplayer. I played a little Nuketown 24/7. Played a little hardcore. I went 33-1 in one game. Hadn't done that in years.
Oh, wow.
Super fluky, right? So who had a bigger week? Did I have a bigger week or did Maximus Martin have a bigger week?
I got to go with Max Martin on that one.
I don't know. We should probably put that at a poll at the game KMAN on Twitter. But no, Maximus Martin just exploded this weekend. That has, I think there's no argument that he's the best hitter right now in college baseball. I know he's not going to be across the board like first place in all these statistics individually. Well, what a splash that is for K-State. Like, if you look at who all they picked up in the transfer portal to be these top guys, not really any of them are missing right now. D. Kennedy needs to settle down a little bit. Strikeouts are a little bit too high. The air is a little bit too high. I think that's really my only complaint right now is that this team just has way too many errors. Too many mistakes in the field. Their fielding percentage is only about 95%. That needs to be a little bit better than that. That needs to slow down just a bit. But right now, I mean, pitching with an ERA of 4.70 over the weekend, not too bad. So I'm taking a lot of this right now, especially early on in the season. And K-State's already proved that they can compete with the best teams in the country. And by the way, Big 12 play starts on Friday.
And then if I remember correctly, errors were kind of a struggle for last year's team as well early on. And that's something that kind of worked its way out a little bit as they got further on. I just want to ask you this. What is the strategy if you're William and Mary? And maybe it's different with college baseball because you're trying to get your kids reps and, getting swept by K-State, whether you give up 50 runs compared to getting swept by K-State and giving up, 25 runs over 3 games is not that big of a difference. But when you get into game 3, why are you pitching to him? Why are you pitching to Max Martin once we get to the third, okay, when the first home run goes, why are you still pitching to him?
I have to go back and look at the numbers because I get games mixed up really easy, really quickly. But if I remember right, it was a bit competitive there in the early innings. Again, I'm going to have to go. I can pull it up here real quick. But, I mean, kind of early on, it was 6-3.
It was 6-3 after 2 innings.
After 2 innings.
I mean, sure. They didn't explode until the 5th.
I don't know. You got to get your guys some work, I guess. They did pitch a lot of guys, and K-State didn't pitch a ton of guys. I think half of the roster that K-State pitched was on Sunday, maybe with the exception of one. I mean, nobody went deeper than Lincoln Sheffield on Sunday. He went 4 1/3. I mean, maybe starting pitching, you would have liked to see that go a little bit deeper. Michael Covedo, goes 4 earned and 3 2/3, an ERA of 9.82. He's better than that. I think we know he's better than that. Again, a newcomer. Dante Lewis continues to. I think he continues to really impress. He went 3 1/3, and this is a freshman that can hit 97 on the gun. He has multiple times already this year. Gives up an earned run in 3 1/3. 5 strikeouts, no walks, just 2 hits, a 2.70 ERA, and he continues to really impress. Again, this is a young arm that throws some heat. I mean, there's some other guys like a J.J. Slack, for instance, just kind of an example. He's not the only one. He had himself a nice outing on Sunday. He pitched the last inning, and he got a strikeout just pretty much straight up. He just gave up a hit. It's another guy that has some pretty solid heat, but sometimes it's just about the command. From what I've seen so far, Dante Lewis does a pretty solid job of throwing those fastballs and keeping his command. For the most part, it does feel like. But also, it just going back to the offense, I mean, just the timely hitting, huge innings. He had a 9-run 5th inning yesterday, 20 runs. I mean, K-State outscored William and Mary 41-13. They had 41 runs on 40 hits, 39 RBI, so most of them obviously earned. And in 12 home runs, as they're batting .400, slugging percentage .850. .850. Pretty good all-around stuff from K-State. Guys are still continuing to grow. Like, I think Shintaro Inoue is just – he's maybe not completely there yet, but he's going to be really good. I mentioned A.J. Avasco. Kyan Lotus Did not play. He played 2 of the 3 games. He is somebody that's really coming through right now for K-State. In 2 games, he bats .600. He's walking. He's seeing the ball really well. His on base is really good. Things feel like they're going to be consistent. I think that's the key right now. It feels like K-State is playing some pretty consistent baseball. Again, the pitching I thought could have been a little bit better this weekend, but still it wasn't too bad. You got to work some guys you wanted to get in the game. That's pretty important right now.
And I think the thing that's the most impressive for me right now, and just early on, there are some familiar faces from last year, but there's really not a lot.
David Bishop didn't start this weekend. He's not. He didn't come out of the gate that well, and Nick English.
Yeah,
I think isn't off to a great start. He will get there. It's just a little bit slow for him right now.
But those are 2 guys that you would have assumed would have taken a step forward and would have been helped leading. If you were been told, oh yeah, offense next year starts off red hot, you would think that those guys would be part of that, and they're not. And that really is more impressive because they're going to get there. They're both good players. They're going to get there eventually. But to already have all this production from all these guys already, it's super encouraging. I'm super excited.
Well, and I would imagine it's just not us talking about it. People like K-State fans have noticed how hot of a start K-State's had. Now 9-5, but again, over the last 9 games, they're 8-1. Multiple wins over top 25 teams or teams that were preseason ranked in the top 25. I'd hope that generates some excitement because, especially winning a player like Max Martin, what's more attractive in baseball than somebody that can just hit nukes? People want to come out to the ballpark and see that, and it's perfect timing because Max Martin plays his first games at Toynton Family Stadium and he hits 5 home runs in 3 games. K-State hits 12 home runs on their home field. And if there's anything that has been pretty consistent for Pete Hughes at his time here at K-State, he has a lineup that hits for power. They hit home runs that can be hopefully consistent at the plate, not just by hitting home runs, hits, but also watching the ball, drawing a lot of walks, and getting guys on base. I did think there was a few too many times where there was some base running errors, like maybe some guys going that shouldn't be, but again, K-State just blew out, for the most part, with the exception of Friday, just blowout wins over a team in William and Mary that's really not that good. But now you have Creighton and Omaha coming up with coverage here on K-Man at Creighton tomorrow, and that's going to be a pregame coverage. That's going to be at 5:30, and first pitch at 6. We're going to have that online only, and the same thing for the Omaha game on Wednesday, again on the road up in Omaha. That's a 5 o'clock first pitch, pregame at 4:30, but because of K-State hoops, those games online only for now, especially for Wednesday. We don't know if K-State's playing or not. Online only, newsradiokman.com. We finish up Hour 1 of Wildcat Insider when we come back on News Radio KMAN.
You're listening to Wildcat Insider.
At McCown Gordon Construction, we improve lives by building authentic relationships. No matter the project size, our clients enjoy unmatched talent and resources in the Manhattan area market. Early collaboration with our pre-construction team ensures cost certainty, preventing surprises. Whether it's education space for learning or healthcare space for healing, we build to serve the community. McCown Gordon Construction, proud builder for K-State and the KSU Foundation. Visit McCownGordon.com.
No matter if your flight is departing or arriving, travel is more convenient when you fly local with Manhattan Regional Airport. Connect to anywhere in the world with 5 daily flights to Dallas and Chicago. Plus, by booking your next flight through Manhattan Regional Airport, you'll spend less time driving, saving you both gas and time. Why spend hours on the road when you can spend more time at your destination? Or more importantly, getting home quicker to the ones you love. Get back to the convenience of flying local with Manhattan Regional Airport. Click your next flight at flymhk.com.
At Stormont Vale Health, high-quality care is right around the corner.
Stormont Vale Health is more than just a hospital. We're an essential part of your community. Our commitment to quality healthcare means investing in the most skilled and talented providers and cutting-edge medical technology. Our investment in your well-being doesn't stop there. We also support various nonprofit programs throughout the communities we serve. Visit StormontVale.org and discover how we can serve you.
Stormont Vale Health, high-quality care, closer to home.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A Teenager. Learning the Lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
The Ramsey Show.
Up to 50% of American families are paying their adult children's bills to an average of $1,482 a month. Wow. I've never seen it like this. 25% of millennials, their parents are paying their house payment, their rent, or they're living in their basement. You pay your kids' bills. Psychologists call that enabling. As a matter of fact, enabling is quite the opposite of loving.
Go from paycheck to purpose with The Ramsey Show. Weekdays 10 to 1 on News Radio KMAN.
Your News Radio KMAN weather forecast update. Today we're looking at 80 and sunny with southwest winds from 10 to 15. Could get as high as 30 miles per hour. Tonight it's going to be clear with a low around 43. Wind gusts getting as high as 20 miles per hour. Tuesday it'll be sunny again with a high near 68. Then some clouds will roll in towards the night with a low around 41. On Wednesday we're looking at mostly sunny, high near 72, and some 5 p.m. cool winds in the afternoon.
One more segment, hour number one. Mitch Fortner, Tim Everson, Jimmy Kaufman, Cole Dutchendorf all hanging out with you until 6 o'clock. The final, I believe it's the final Jeff Mitty show of the year at 6 o'clock. We got the NCAA tournament for the selection show for the women. That's going to be Sunday, 7 o'clock, ESPN for coverage of that. Does K-State, or should K-State women's basketball host the NCAA tournament? That conversation coming up in hour number two. I do need to address one thing. This is from the men's basketball game on Saturday. The loss to Iowa State Senior Day. The seniors not going out on the right note. But during halftime, there was a contest, I believe, put on by Aer Lingus, promoting the Aer Lingus College Football Classic. K-State, Iowa State in Dublin, Ireland this August. They were giving away 2 round-trip tickets to Dublin, Ireland. And there was booths you could get signed up at around the concourse, and then you were supposed to take your sign-up sheet, fold it into a paper airplane, and try to land it as close to half court on this target as closely as you possibly could. Old Keaton Code picks up the winner's sheet, picks it up, and reads the winner's name and says Kathy Fortner. You have no idea how many texts, DMs, asking me if I'm related. Mason Voth, right off the gate on his KSO show after the game, hey, Mitch, was that your mom? That was my mom. That was my mom that won the Aer Lingus College Football Classic round-trip tickets. Only the flights, no games of the tickets or no game tickets or hotel or anything like that was given to them for free or anything like that. Is that allowed? Since technically work for K-State? As far as I know, yeah, absolutely. No way that was rigged.
You didn't throw them. You had nothing to do with her airplane making ability.
So my mom didn't throw it either. So my cousin, I had a cousin. My cousin has 2 sons. Her oldest son went to half court, was not sitting there, but went to half court in the stands and threw it for my mom, and it got really close. It almost hit the target, but yes, my mom did win those tickets to Dublin, Ireland. They were not going to go, but now they are.
Well, that's going to be fun. You have to imagine that the flight is the biggest expensive. All of that.
See, Dublin, as far as I understand, Dublin can be kind of expensive.
Yeah.
It's a city.
Yeah.
A little more expensive to get a pint or two. You know what I mean? But I'm glad they're going to go now because they weren't going to go. I think just traveling like that makes them nervous. My dad likes Disney World. There's no Disney World in Ireland. It's a little bit more do your own traveling. No shuttles from the airport to this resort. You just get bussed around everywhere. Nothing like that. This is a little bit different, but my mom did win, so shout out to Kathy. The K-State women's basketball team, their run in the Big 12 tournament ended in the quarterfinals to West Virginia. I just got a couple of thoughts on this. I'm so hoping Serena Sundell can break the record for assists in a career, and that is, going into the game, it was 28 assists. She had 9 against West Virginia, so she's down to 19. But you're only guaranteed one more game. K-State is into the NCAA tournament. We know that. And we'll address, are they going to host or not? But I got to say, that loss to West Virginia was probably the most frustrating loss of the season for me. Because K-State came out so hot. They were just electric from the field. 13 of 15 in the first quarter, 5 of 6 from 3. They shot 87% and outscored West Virginia 33-23. The only issue for K-State defensively was that they were just giving up too many and ones, too many three-point plays. If that wasn't the case, K-State could have won that quarter by 20. And maybe we're sitting here today saying that K-State goes on to the semifinals and now hopes of hosting in the Big 12 tournament is a different story. Not the case. This was like a lot of other conference tournaments. The semifinals were quite crucial for those that were on the bubble for hosting as a top 16 seed. K-State at the end had a couple of opportunities to go tie the game or potentially go win the game. And as hard as it was for them to run their offense, you just didn't see adjustments. K-State was just not in sync with one another. Some bad turnovers. West Virginia doing what they do, turn over a team. Even though K-State only had 15, that's actually a pretty decent number against West Virginia, who averages forcing like 21, 22 a game. K-State had their shots, and they missed them. To me, it's as simple as that. Mm-hmm. Didn't execute down the stretch. They weren't as good in the second half. They weren't as good in the second quarter. K-State was outscored after the first quarter 50-36 the rest of the way. 33 points in the first quarter. 36 points the rest of the way. West Virginia clicked in and did what they did. And again, my argument, J.J. Quinterly should have been Big 12 Player of the Year. She finished with a game-high 24 points. Hit a couple of threes. She was getting to the hoop, went to the free throw line, forcing turnovers, had a couple of assists. Pretty special player. It's just not the momentum you would have liked to add excitement and to have better hopes for hosting the first and second round of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I 100% agree that J.J. Quinterly got robbed.
I am not a fan of just assuming that a player from the team that wins the Big 12 should win the Player of the Year honor. On the men's side, that didn't happen.
No.
JT Toppin, I get them always mixed up. He's from Texas Tech, the team that finished second. He won as a sophomore. Yeah. And I think he was the right pick, Big 12 Player of the Week. I don't think that should just be... Well, traditionally, it goes. Once you start saying that, does it feel like a legit reward? Or or an award. Like, I just think it's kind of weird when you go in that route. Like, well, it should typically go to no. That's not how awards should work. There's no typically. There's no traditionally. It's an award. It goes to the person that deserves it the most. To me, that was J.J. Quinterly in women's basketball. But again, go ahead and finish your thought.
No,
there.
it just feels kind of empty to me. And I kind of said something similar last week. It's a lot of things outside of this team's control. I think that there are probably some things that they could have done better, but we have, a shot by a shot, kind of look at them playing West Virginia a couple weeks ago, and then last week. They improved quite a bit. I mean, they played a much better game overall. They had a much better game plan overall. It just wasn't enough, and it sucks that it wasn't enough because of reasons outside of everyone's control. And you hope that gets corrected as we head into the NCAA tournament.
What is the committee going to value? Are they going to value Aoka Lee's return to the lineup in a couple of weeks when K-State plays in the NCAA tournament? Their net ranking. Well, K-State was the 15th best player according to the committee. We'll find out. We'll discuss in hour number 2 along with Wyatt Thompson coming up next on Wildcat Insider. It's amazing when a guy turns heel, how much more you enjoy him now. Like, the music just hits differently now. John Cena. People still talking about it. By the way, a hell of a pay-per-view last night, with the exception of the main event. One of the greatest pay-per-views of all time AEW put on last night with Revolution. Damn good time. What a weekend it was for Maximus Martin. He has hit a home run now in 4 straight games. He has 7 total, 5 on the weekend against William and Mary, earning him Big 12 co-newcomer of the week. How the hell is there another newcomer that had a week like that when the guy is the hottest hitter in baseball? Now I forgot my thought process. What am I forgetting here? Oh, yeah. Maximus Martin. 7 home runs on the year. He hits 5. He's not the Big 12 Player of the Week. How is he not for the second week in a row? But still a damn fun time to watch that. How could you not be excited about K-State baseball right now? After starting 1-4, they've now won 8 of their last 9. A lot of wins over top 25 teams. They have the hottest hitter in America. But again, the poll up at our Twitter account, @TheGameKMAN, who had the better weekend? Maximus Martin, who had 5 home runs, or myself, who had 1 game of Call of Duty with 37 kills and 1 death? Right now, it is 100% Maximus Martin. That's shocking to me, how it could be so wide of a margin. I'm sure some voters on my side will be coming through here rather shortly. Still to come here in hour number 2, as we'll be joined once again by Tim Everson. Should K-State women's basketball get to host the NCAA tournament? We'll break it down here in a little bit. We're now pleased to be joined by the voice of the Wildcats, Wyatt Thompson, who once again leads us off in hour number 2. Wyatt, have you and the team made it to Kansas City yet?
We have. I got here just a little bit after they did. Pardon me. Got checked into the hotel. We're only 3 or 4 blocks away from T-Mobile Center. K-State had a little shoot around today from about 3:50 until 4:25. Nothing media-wise. Came right back to the hotel. We'll go to dinner at 6 o'clock and get ready to play at 6 o'clock tomorrow night.
What is your impression of that floor? Let me ask you this. Did they keep the same floor that they had for the women's game? Is it still there? The women's game?
It's still there.
Oh, God.
And I will tell you, I had a guy tell me that it looks better in person than it does on TV. And after being there, I would have to say that that's probably an accurate statement. Now, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. It doesn't mean I necessarily like it, but I think it does look better in person than what I observed on television watching some of the women's tournament. And actually, I probably watched, more of the women's tournament this year than ever before, which was a lot of fun. I know K-State got bumped out by West Virginia, but boy, the top part of the league is just as good as the men, I think.
I felt like I was drunk when watching the women play, when I'm watching on TV. When they're going from one side to the other, it just gets kind of blurry. I got a little bit of a headache watching those games. So I hope you're right. I hope it is way better there in person. Cats wrap up the regular season with a loss to Iowa State. Your thoughts on that loss? And, David Gasson had himself a great day, his final game in Bramlage Coliseum, but the seniors unfortunately don't go out the right way.
No, they don't. And I think it was obvious from the start that Iowa State was the better team on that particular day. K-State clearly outplayed them in Ames. Probably Iowa State pretty clear the better team on this day. I say that because they jumped on K-State 22-9 early. K-State committed 17 turnovers. K-State shot just 34.6% in the first half, while Iowa State was shooting 48%. And then, you look at those 17 turnovers, that morphs into a 22-6 advantage points off turnovers for Iowa State. It's just hard to beat that. I mean, they're going to beat you every time doing that.
David Gasson finished the game at 19 points and 7 rebounds, his 50th double-digit game for K-State. Coleman Hawkins had 4 points, but 9 rebounds, 5 assists. He did have 5 turnovers in the game. Doug McDaniel had 14 points. So now that the regular season has come to an end, for whatever reason, what part of the season stands out most to you? It could be the 4-game winning streak in Big 12 play, the 6-game winning streak, also the 6-game losing streak, non-conference play. Like, when you think about what defines this season, is there a particular part of the season that stands out to you the most?
Well, to be honest, I'd probably use a couple of things. One, I would say it's probably most easy to say the 6-game losing skid followed by a 6-game winning streak. And I say that, Mitch, because I think that puts into perspective what the season was with the ups and downs. I mean, this was a team that during that 6-game winning streak played as well as anybody. You and I talked about that. Then all of a sudden you lose 6 straight. Then you win a couple, and then you don't play well in the last couple of games of the regular season, or at least the Iowa State game. And if you look at it, you go back to BYU, K-State lost, what would that be, 4 out of 6. That's not exactly what they wanted following a really decent winning streak there at one point.
When I say David Gasson, who received a standing ovation in front of about 8,700 fans in Bramlage on Saturday, is there a story or a moment or anything that stands out in your mind about the person, the player, David Gasson?
This may sound, it's a great question, and it's a little bit difficult to answer because this is a left-handed way of saying David is really a very unique person and talent. I think he has willed himself to become a really good college basketball player. I really thought like he had a chance. It didn't happen, but I thought he had a chance to get as high as a second-team All-Big 12 guy, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, in a little bit. But I think what I would say is that from the time he walked in here to now, his approach has never changed. What has changed, and when I say approach, I mean to the game, to everything he does. But what got better is David, and that's the best part. I just love that fact. I mean, this guy played roughly 30 minutes a game, averaged 13.3 points. He had 7.2 rebounds. Now, numbers are numbers, but let me throw this out to you. Think about this. I'll equate 7.2 the right way here. That's 224 rebounds in 31 games. 413 points, too, is 13.3. So he was really good. Easily, in my opinion, K-State's most consistent and probably best player this year. That's why I was a little confused, although I agreed with a lot of the Big 12 teams today. I really thought he would be maybe a second or third team guy, and Coleman would be honorable mention, but it was the other way.
Almost my thoughts exactly. I certainly believe that David deserved better than honorable mention, but there's more teams down the league. There's more competition. There's now 10 players, first team all Big 12 like the women's side, which I think is a little bit too much, but honoring some guys, that's great and all that. I do want to ask you more on the Big 12 teams in a moment here. One more on David, though, because when he's on the floor like Wabash is playing, he's a big old goofball. When he's in the press room with us media, it seems like he really keeps his personality under wraps. Like he kind of hides it from us. You traveled with him for 3 years. What's he like off the floor? Is David a pretty fun guy?
Yes, but you don't see it as much as you might think. I think when you really see it, and this is probably a guess because I don't see it, is when people like me are not around. He's a little bit more David when he's around the team than he is when some media people are around. Right or wrong, I believe that's the right answer.
All right, so let's get to the all Big 12 performers here. Looking at the player of the year, it did not go to a player that is from the Big 12 champs in Houston who ran away with it this year, the individual or the overall championship in the regular season, the team championship. But it was from Texas Tech. JT Toppin won player of the year. Do you agree with that or disagree?
Absolutely agree. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a no-brainer, frankly. And here's my tribute to Houston and how good they are. I think they had 3 or 4 players that were good enough that who do you pick if you're going to try to use one of their guys as the player of the year in the league? Toppin was terrific numbers-wise. You know that. You followed the league closely, too. I thought they got that right. But I also thought that they got Tugler right as the defensive player of the year. And I said going in, and I think it's still true today, Houston was really well coached. It's still remarkable to me what they did in the conference race. But, man, I'm just going to tell you, their top 4 guys are as good as most. Whether it's Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, Houston, Texas Tech, whoever it might be. I don't know if you agree with all of that, but and with that said, I think Tech is the second best team in the league, honestly. Do you?
Yeah.
I think Toppin puts them over the top in that, no pun intended.
And Toppin, I mean, the second half of Big 12 play, I thought he was out of this world good. He was putting up some monster. I would have to go back and just kind of calculate his numbers compared to the first half of Big 12 play. But it feels like he was at least 5 points better. I don't know if it was that much, but it seemed like him scoring in the 20s was not uncommon at all.
Well, I updated their chart today, and this is you can call me crazy if you would like, but I updated charts for the game tomorrow night, which I'm going to do. No guarantees after tomorrow night because we would play Baylor and then Tech. But I was looking at some of his numbers, and he had 25 points, 11 rebounds, in 35 minutes in the ball game against Arizona State, who K-State will play tomorrow night. But think about this. He had 10 games this year of 20-plus, 2 games of 30-plus, 1 game of 40-plus. I don't think there's anybody in the league that would threaten that with maybe. I'd have to look at it closer. The only guy that comes to mind that I think can even come in the vicinity of that is Keyshawn Hall at UCF. So he's pretty special.
Yeah. Yep. So for those that don't know, if you haven't seen the bracket, so if K-State wins tomorrow against Arizona State, it's Wednesday at 6 o'clock against Baylor. The team on their side of the bracket in the double bye is if K-State wins 2 games, they would run into the Big 12 Player of the Year, JT Toppin, and the Texas Tech Raiders on Thursday. That would be another 6 o'clock game. That, of course, would be right here on News Radio KMA. And another thought that popped in my head, because, again, I don't really have too many problems with these all Big 12 teams. Honestly, I don't know if I would put Zeke Mayo, third team all Big 12. I might flip him with Darius Johnson of UCF. That's really my only thought outside of K-State. Let me pick your brain here. Let me give you a tough question here.
Okay.
Who's the most underrated player in the Big 12 this year?
Most underrated player in the Big 12.
Yep.
Wow, that's a really hard one because I'm just looking at the teams here, and one of the guys that jumps out to me is Norchad Omier, who got almost no headlines at Baylor, and he's really had a very, very fine finish to his season. This next one may probably surprise you because I'm going to say Milos Uzan of Houston. I just thought in the back half of the conference season, he made Houston even better. In those biggest games, he was getting, 16, 17, 18 points and still distributing to those other guys like Joanne Roberts and Emmanuel Sharp and L.J. Cryer. That's why I think, to be honest, they have enough players that I think if you were voting for a Houston guy, they probably split votes, and thus you have Toppin as the winner. But I do think most of the coaches will tell you that Toppin deserved the award. That's what I think.
Wyatt Thompson is our guest. All right, Wyatt. So, again, tomorrow is Arizona State. Round 3, they split with each other, each team winning on the other team's floor. And we learned that Jaden Quaintance is kind of good. Young player, of course. He's just 17 years old, and all defensive team, all freshman team that he landed on. He was the only, as far as I understand, let me go double check here. Yeah, he's the only Arizona State Sun Devil that received all Big 12 honors. Yes, he was. So he made up for his mistakes, I guess, in the first round against K-State. So what's the game plan? What's the secret sauce for K-State that you learned about the Wildcats at shooting around for tomorrow's game?
Well, it's interesting because I don't know, if I'm being perfectly honest, if a couple of the guys for Arizona State will even be available, and Jaden Quaintance would be one of them.
Oh.
He has not played since the ball game at K-State. What was that? A couple of weeks ago.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he got hurt
he
late.
Was injured in that game.
Yeah.
Of course, they kicked B.J. Freeman off the team, removed him from the team right before the K-State game, and then Adam Miller didn't play against Texas Tech the other night. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean that they're, talent void, though, because Josan Stannen has done a really good job in a starting role. He has started, 4 straight now. Sean Phillips has started 10 games now, where I think he may have gotten his first start against K-State. I'll double-check that. But and then freshman Trevor Best has done it okay. He had 18 the other night against BYU. So they have talent. But here's the deal. Let's cut to the chase here, right? They've lost 4 straight and 10 of 11. So they do have problems, and I think everybody in the league sees it.
Yep. K-State hopefully will be at full strength, with, of course, the exception of Coleman Hawkins, who had his right leg all wrapped up. He's wearing a brace. I mean, I'll ask you, is he looking close to 100% to you?
Well, I'll break a little news to you here. He was not wearing that brace at their shoot today. Now, they weren't doing a lot. They were just shooting, okay? That doesn't mean he won't wear it tomorrow night, but he did not have it on today at the T-Mobile. And I do think he is better. He is not. I'll say that again. He is not 100%. But I think he is feeling better, and there's less pain now. He's playing with less pain than he did when he first came back.
All right, Wyatt, we'll let you go. Looking forward to hearing the call tomorrow, and hopefully you got a whole bunch of calls this week in Kansas City. Really appreciate your time. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir, buddy. Yes, sir. Good talking to you. Thank you.
Voice of the Wildcats, Wyatt Thompson. Man, I totally forgot about Jaden Quaintance getting hurt in that game. I remember it being a little bit late. Of course, that was a double-digit loss. Couldn't wait to get out of Bramlage because that was just God, did we really want to be there type of thing. I'm talking about we as like those having to work and stuff because it just was not – the crowd didn't show up. It was a bad – just a bad day. And that's right towards the end of the game, Jaden Quaintance hurt his knee or hurt his leg or something. So, and he's 17. He's 17 years old because he's so young that he will not be eligible for the NBA draft to be a one and done. And he can be a one and done. Like, he's pretty good. Like he's a talented kid. He's so tall, but he's too young. He's going to play the whole year as a 17-year-old.
That's
believe that.
Good for Bobby Hurley if he keeps his job.
Which, by the way, is the reason why Caleb Love did not get unanimous selection for all Big 12 first team, right?
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
because Toppin was the only player to be unanimous selection for all Big 12 first team.
Yeah.
Not even Hunter Dickinson. Can you believe that?
I can.
Okay.
I can't.
Well, let's take a timeout. And still to come, Tim's going to predict the entire Big 12 tournament. Who's going to win it all in Kansas City? That championship game is going to be Saturday, 5 o'clock on ESPN. That'll tip off exactly 24 hours prior to Selection Sunday for the men. For the women, Selection Sunday, 7 o'clock, ESPN. Should K-State women's basketball get to host the NCAA tournament? The discussion coming up next.
You're listening to Wildcat Insider.
The word father means a lot to me. Being that support system for them, and as a man, that's important in a child's life. I think men can be a little stubborn sometimes where they may want the help, they may not know how to ask. It's hard for a man to speak his emotions. Those tears, they mean something. You know, wrap away. Tears are water, and water is life. And when you shed those tears, that's love. That's real love. Sometimes as dads, I think we're too hard on ourselves. Life can come at you really quick, and it can be really tough at times. But then you put that one foot in front of the other, and you keep doing the right thing. Slowly that voice goes away, you know. Wrap away, you gotta pray for yourself, as well as for everybody else, but never forget yourself.
Never stop being a dad. That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hey K-State fans, single game tickets for all 23 home games of the 2025 K-State baseball season are on sale now. Order your tickets today and make plans to catch the Wildcats in action this spring as they build on last year's 35 wins, regional championship, and super regional appearance. To purchase tickets, call 1-800-221-2287 or visit kstatesports.com. We can't wait to see you in Poynton.
Information you can use in an ever-changing healthcare environment. America's Healthcare Advocate, Carrie Hall, Saturdays on News Radio KMAN.
We're here to educate and inform on the topic of healthcare and health insurance. We've partnered with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas to bring you these shows to educate you on healthcare and health insurance issues. That's why we're doing these shows here on America's Healthcare Advocate.
Join Carrie Hall, America's Healthcare Advocate, Saturday mornings at 7 on News Radio KMAN.
Blueville Nursery's Horticulture Hints radio show comes to your radio every Friday morning at 10 a.m. We will discuss timely gardening and landscape topics to help you keep your lawn and garden in tip-top shape. Blueville Nursery has been your local landscape service and garden store for over 50 years, and we want to share our time-tested techniques with you. From vegetable gardening, spring and summer annuals, to shade trees and lawn care, we'll cover it all. You're welcome to call into the show to ask questions that apply to your own landscape or garden. Stay tuned to Blueville Nursery's Horticulture Hints radio show every Friday at 10 a.m. right here on News Radio KMAN.
NHL star Matt Martin for American Humane.
I've had my fair share of bruises and injuries, but for many who put their lives on the line every day, it's not always the injuries you can see that hurt the most. Every single day, 184 veterans are diagnosed with post-traumatic stress. When medications and therapy don't help, professionally trained service dogs can. American Humane has created a free guide to help veterans obtain these life-saving animals. For help, please go to AmericanHumane.org.
Within Reason with Mike Madsen on News Radio KMAN.
Will we ever get that bridge north of Blue Township? We'll ask Potawatomi County Commissioner D. McKee Tuesday.
Within Reason with Mike Madsen, weekday mornings at 9 on News Radio KMAN.
I'm Jimmy Kaufman with a Wildcat Insider Sports Update. Seniors David Gasson and Coleman Hawkins were both named to all Big 12 teams, the conference office announced on Sunday. Hawkins, who found himself on the All Big 12 third team, became the first Wildcat named to one of the three All Big 12 teams since Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson were both members of the first team in 2023. And Gasson was an honorable mention. The two seniors have been leaders for the team all year long. Hawkins, who was a Big Ten honorable mention in the 2023-24 season, is the only Division I player in the country to average at least 10 points, 6.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 1.5 steals, and a block per game. He leads the team in both steals and blocks. Thanks to a pair of 2-homer outings and a combined 12 RBIs in its weekend series against William & Mary, Kansas State's Maximus Martin has been named USA Baseball's Golden Spikes Player of the Week. Martin compiled a .667 batting average in 3 games last week and helped the Wildcats earn a series sweep over the Tribe. 6 of his 8 hits on the weekend were for extra bases, which included 5 home runs, and he currently ranks 3rd nationally in his season this season in batting average. The Kansas City Chiefs have been busy on the first day of free agency, signing 2 players from San Francisco. Here, back to Wildcat Insider.
Wildcat Insider, KMAN. We lead you to 6 o'clock. Mitch Fortner, Tim Everson, Jimmy Kaufman, Cole Dutchendorf. Just the crew hanging. Cole's on a chair in the back of the room just chilling. He's never made money easier than today. He's going to be on the call Wednesday. We're going to have coverage, not here on K-Man. The game is going to be on B1047 because we already got a bunch of stuff going on K-Man with the Cats. Shout to Rock Creek boys basketball making the state tournament for the 2nd consecutive year. They're one of 3 teams locally that made it to a state tournament, along with the Frankfurt boys and the Valley Heights girls, right?
Correct.
So the Rock Creek boys will be playing in Salina that starts Wednesday against Abilene. So it's an NCKL matchup, their first round in Salina. And Cole will be on the broadcast, 6 o'clock for tip-off, pregame at approximately 5:45 on B1047. On B, we'll have coverage of the entire run for Rock Creek boys at 4A State in Salina. So I want to wish the best of luck to Justin Smith and his team, looking to make a run to a state championship. Okay, so speaking of tournaments, speaking of the postseason, the K-State women get bounced in the quarterfinals. They're not going to play a game for like a couple of weeks. The fate is in the committee's hands. We will not find out until Sunday. Has K-State done enough? Do they have the resume? Are they on the right side of the bubble, according to the committee, to be a top 16 seed, a 4 seed, and host the first and second round of the NCAA tournament for the 2nd consecutive year? You know, the last time, and the committee did this twice, like they did last year, they put out a top 16 on who would, like, if the tournament selection show was that day, what would be the pecking order, 1 through 16, who would get a top 4 seed, who would be hosting the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. The last time we had one of those, and the last one we'll have until Selection Sunday, was 12 days ago. February 26th, K-State was at number 15. So the 3rd best 4 seed is where K-State was listed, so there's not a whole lot of breathing room left. Need to start taking care of business. That was also right after the Baylor loss. And the Baylor loss doesn't really hurt you a whole lot. You were at home. That was a quad 1 game, though. You wanted to go win that game. And since then, K-State lost 2 out of 3. Their chances at quad 1 wins did not happen. They lost at Iowa State. They did beat UCF at home, a terrible team, with the exception of 1 player. And then lost to West Virginia in Kansas City. The Kansas City also, the Big 12 tournament, also the UCF game. So K-State not beating West Virginia was, in my opinion, a pivotal point. Semifinals, these teams that made the semifinals of their respective tournaments was a great sign for those that are on the bubble to potentially host the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament. So let's take a look and see how some of these bubble teams did. At number 12 was Tennessee. They did not make it to the semis. Neither did Alabama, who was kind of on that 5 line at that point. So those two not really a worry. Number 13 was Oklahoma. They did reach the semifinals. They did get blitzed by South Carolina, but they did put up an early fight. Oklahoma for sure is going to be a top 16. They even may be a 3 seed at this point. Kentucky, number 14 team in the country at the time when that last top 16 came out from the committee. They actually got bounced in their first game by Oklahoma. Oklahoma, like I mentioned earlier, reached the semifinals, and Kentucky had 4 games versus ranked opponents and went 1-3. With their RPI being pretty decent, them playing in the best league this year in the SEC, is that enough to keep them in the top 16? Ohio State, there's 2 teams, in my opinion, that really did themselves a huge service and went on a run. One of those teams was at number 16, that's Ohio State. They reached their semifinals. They were kind of right there hanging on the bubble. They didn't do anything that would cost them a spot. I don't think they did. I think they moved up a little bit. They'll probably be a little bit higher than the 16, the last 4 seed. And then Baylor. Baylor at that point was probably not hosting. I think they'd done a lot to say, look, Baylor's on a run. They're one of the hottest teams in America. They're down a couple of starters. But how does that affect the committee? Really, actually, they're only down 1 starter. That's Little Paige Buggs. Her not playing, how is that going to affect their status? Well, they made it to the Big 12 championship. They did lose to TCU, but they made it. I think Baylor is in, and I think that potentially moves K-State out. With the jump as well from Ohio State, Baylor is going to come in and take a spot. Another bubble team is like Ole Miss. I don't think Ole Miss is a top 16 team, but they're kind of right there on the bubble. North Carolina, who is not in the top 16, they reached their semifinals. ACC is a tough league. Could they have done enough? They may have done enough to take one of those top 16 spots. I just don't think K-State did. Now, there's a couple of other elements here as well. The net ranking. K-State, despite only having 2 quad 1 wins, does not have a bad loss, but just 2 quad 1 wins, is still loved by the net at number 9. There's only one other team that is in the top 15, has only 2 quad 1 wins. That's West Virginia. West Virginia is probably going to be a best of 16 or a best of 6 seed. Maybe at very best of 5, but I don't think they're going to be a 5. I think they might be a 6 seed. I mean, heck, Oklahoma State finished in the top 3 of the Big 12, and they're maybe a 6 or a 7 right now for the NCAA tournament. But how does that net play into effect? Are they just going to look at the number that's next to K-State? Or are they going to examine the full run and non-con they faced 5 or 6 and beat 5 or 6 what could be tournament or I haven't looked at all of K-State's resume and who of those teams in the non-con won their conference tournaments, won the regular season, who's going to go to the NCAA tournament. There's potentially 5 or 6 in that non-con. Again, K-State does not have a bad loss, but just the 2 quad 1 wins. How much also plays into effect how K-State played without Ayoka Lee. Here's my thought on this. I don't have the knowledge on if the committee in past years with different personnel, whoever it was in the given year, looked at a team and, for example, like Duke. Looked at Duke and said, well, for half of Big 12, half of conference play, they've been without their star player, but she's coming back for the NCAA tournament. So because of that, they're going to host because they were this good when this player was playing. But does that set a bad precedence? Like, should that be a standard that is set for college basketball? That's just a question I'm throwing out there. I don't think it should be. But also, Ayoka Lee did attempt to make a comeback. She played 5 minutes, and we haven't seen her since. She was out again another 4 weeks, and it's not available until the NCAA tournament. I do not blame K-State one bit for putting out the news that Ayoka Lee is going to make a comeback, but if this does happen, if that's a big reason why K-State would get a top 16 seed, I mean, how many coaches are going to start lying about that status of a player, or whatever to get hopefully a boost in their resume? I don't think a whole lot of coaches would do something like that. Typically, coaches are pretty upfront about major injuries. Bill Snyder with Jesse Ertz, it's been almost a decade since that whole thing where just week by week, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Not really saying a whole lot, but not ruling Jesse Ertz out. We knew he was out for the year. But it was just kind of playing a week-by-week type of thing. You never know, but it's going to be Joe Huebner or whatever.
Last year we saw it with Cam Rising.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Is that what they did with him?
Yeah, it was like every week. It was just like, I don't know.
I stopped paying attention. I figured he was out.
Yeah. No, they were at least for the first half of the season. They were waving it in front of everybody. Maybe this week.
Aoka Lee was also out a lot more than last year. She missed 7 games last year. K-State went 5-2. There wasn't really any reason to downgrade K-State by still going 5-2 without her in the lineup. Now she comes back. They still lose a few more games, but it was still a pretty solid resume. Aoka Lee had played quite a bit of basketball leading up to the NCAA tournament. She's played 1 game since January, or not even a game, 5 minutes since January. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or anything. I'm just trying to give you my unbiased opinion. Because Aoka Lee has missed 13 games. And K-State is 7-6 in those 13 games. She already had to come back out after attempting to make a return. I just don't think you can value that a whole lot if you're the committee. So again, not trying to be a downer, trying to be unbiased. I don't think K-State should get a top 16 seed. Now, Charlie Cream, and if you're not a fan of his, I get it. But if you do look at his bracketology, the last prediction that came out, this may stick for a week. But yeah, K-State is a 5 going to Oxford, which I don't think Ole Miss should host. But if K-State were to go there, play George Mason in the first round as a 5 seed, then play Ole Miss, and Aoka Lee's playing well, she's feeling good, and K-State is just back to their normal selves with their bread and butter, I love what that would set up for K-State, even though they're on the road. And then they're in a regional with USC. I think Notre Dame was in there. Like, I was looking through that. I was like, this is actually a really, really good region. If that were to set up that way, of course it wouldn't. It wouldn't be on the money. I was like, if that's K-State's trajectory, I kind of like that a lot. I'd be totally okay with that. But it's Charlie Cream. It's most likely not going to be what that is. I just don't I don't have the gut feeling that says K-State or, there are some things that the committee could certainly like. Like with Aoka Lee, obviously was pretty dominant, only lost 1 game. Their stats were just through the roof, playing extremely good basketball. There's no doubt they should have been maybe a 2 seed with Aoka Lee, and then she gets hurt. Mm-hmm. You just have to consider as well, yes, she's coming back, but is she going to be 100%? I just don't think the whole injury angle will be looked at if you're the committee. I don't know, but I'm just giving my 2 cents. I don't have K-State as a top 16 seed, unfortunately.
And I guess that's where my confusion on the net kind of comes in a little bit. Because if this is a tool that the committee is supposed to use to help seeding, K-State's coming off pretty good. They're number 9 overall. They do only have the 2 quad 1 wins, like you mentioned. But that hasn't hurt them at all. They're still above teams like LSU, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Baylor. I will understand however this shakes out because it's such an up in the air type thing. There's lots of factors that have gone into it. K-State has not played its best basketball, and they have had opportunities to play better even with Yoki being out. Like I can't stand here and say that they have done the best that they can do despite the fact that they don't have their All-American center. They haven't.
I would say they're better set up than they were last year.
Yeah.
To play without Aoka Lee. They finally have a backup for her with Kennedy Taylor. Tamira Poindexter is All-American from Tulsa. Like, no offense to Gabby Gregory, but to me that was an upgrade for her position. And they should have been in a better position than they were last year. Mm-hmm. To play without Aoka Lee, not hurt their chances, in case it was 500 basketball.
Really quick, I had a caller call and ask, you wanted a question to be asked forward. Do you think the committee takes into account crowd size for anything? As in, Bramlett's going to be sold out if we get a March Madness run.
See, I think that's a pretty interesting point to bring up because, again, I wish we knew more, but we probably won't get a whole lot of – because K-State's just not – being on that bubble, I don't know if the committee goes into a whole lot of detail explaining why a team is over another team to host. I mean, the NIT or the WNIT you're going to get, typically, it used to be at least, you get home games because you got a great crowd size. Right. You're going to draw. Like I remember when K-State won the NIT, they had a lot of home games. They were drawing big crowds. Mm-hmm. I think that played into consideration. But the thing is, as well, as attendance in women's basketball is up everywhere. And when it comes to all those other teams with a Tennessee and Oklahoma, North Carolina, Ole Miss, all those bubble teams, like their attendance, I have to go look into it, but their numbers are up as well. And K-State's had a handful where it was like really large crowds, which I like that. That's better than last year because I remember 2 years ago when Caitlin Clark was here, the best player in America. I know it was 2 years ago and she didn't have her status as she does now. It's like there was hardly any crowd there in Bramlage Coliseum, but nobody out there in women's college basketball has a Caitlin Clark, but the numbers just across the board are up for these pretty decent teams. So do they take that into consideration? That would not be the deciding factor. It wouldn't be. I don't think it'd be close, the deciding factor. There's a lot of other things that would come into play, but when it comes to the NCAA tournament, I mean, having the numbers there, just because it's the tournament, the committee, I'm sure, is expecting anywhere that is going to host is going to draw a crowd just because it's the NCAA tournament.
Plus, I think TV numbers come in as far as like money that they're getting from that contract. I think that's probably more important to the NCAA than how many seats K-State is filling. If you're comparing the two, but I don't know. I like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if either happened.
Yeah, Baylor, NC State, they're all still drawing some pretty big crowds. Mm-hmm. Kentucky is drawing some pretty solid crowds. It's just up.
Yeah,
so that's not a factor. In
Tennessee and Oklahoma are traditional women's basketball powers. I mean, that's just they have the history. They're going to get people there. I don't know. I hope that that their net being as high as it is should say something, considering what they don't have and what they have not had over the past 2 months. And I hope that's taken into consideration, but I just could not tell you if that's going to come into a factor or not.
Yeah, I mean, if just to keep it simple, unfortunately, down the stretch with so many teams competing for just 4 spots, K-State just didn't do as much compared to other teams. To keep it simple here, who was it? Tennessee. I think Tennessee got bounced pretty early. You liked to see that if you're K-State. There just wasn't enough of those bubble teams. Too many of them got to their semifinal games. Played another quad 1 game. Looks good on the resume. It's not going to hurt you in the net or anything. You have an opportunity. It just wasn't enough chaos for K-State because of them losing in the quarterfinals and also, losing some quad 1 games down the stretch that it just may not be enough. But you never know. I honestly think the 16 spot, that last 4 seed, is kind of up for grabs. Like, I could see 4 or 5 teams going into that slot. I think that last spot is the only one I'm unsure about. And I think K-State's one of those teams, but if I were to power rank it, I don't know if I'm going K-State in that spot. I don't know if I have exactly an answer for you, but I know K-State is not my favorite right now for that last spot. Honestly, I think Baylor. I think Baylor is going to grab it. It may not even be that 16 spot. They actually might even get 15, 14, whatever. I think Baylor played themselves certainly into a hosting situation. I really do. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, we're going to wrap up Wildcat Insider as Tim Everson predicts the men's Big 12 tournament. When we come back, how deep does K-State go? According to Tim, we find out next.
You're listening to Wildcat Insider.
Check out Vista Drive-In's specials for Lent this year. The butterfly shrimp combo is only $9 and the fish sandwich is only $8. Each combo includes fries and a drink. Backed by demand is our grilled shrimp po' boy. Grilled shrimp on a hoagie roll with lettuce, tomato, and a spicy garlic sauce. Fish and shrimp at Vista this Lent season. We also have mozzarella sticks and a vegetarian salad as other non-meat options, or just have a shake or a cyclone. They make a great meal by themselves. Vista Drive-In on Tuttle Creek Boulevard. Serving up Manhattan's favorite since 1964. Open at 7 a.m. daily.
At McCown Gordon Construction, we improve lives by building authentic relationships. No matter the project size, our clients enjoy unmatched talent and resources in the Manhattan area market. Early collaboration with our pre-construction team ensures cost certainty, preventing surprises. Whether it's space for public safety or community gathering, we build to serve the community. McCown Gordon Construction, proud builder for K-State and the KSU Foundation. Visit McCownGordon.com.
Manhattan Broadcasting Company is an equal opportunity employer. In order to widely publicize our job opportunities and outreach programs and organizations that regularly distribute information to job seekers or refers candidates to employers, please contact us about our employment contact list to receive the most current information about station vacancies. For more information or to be added to the list, please contact Manhattan Broadcasting Company at 785-776-1350 or visit us at 2414 Casement Road in Manhattan, Kansas, or email frontdesk@1350kman.com.
The Ramsey Show.
So I am 20 years old, straight out of high school. I moved to Phoenix, Arizona to start my own business selling furniture.
What does selling furniture look like?
So I go around picking it up, clean it up, take really good pictures, and sell it. I'll probably do about $100,000 this year net.
Wow. Some of you are standing around with your finger in your ear. And then you got a 20-year-old with a high school education that's making $100,000 flipping used furniture.
He's laughing all the way to the bank.
Financial advice for everyone. The Ramsey Show. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on News Radio KMAN.
Your News Radio KMAN weather update. Tonight we're looking at a clear skies with a low around 43 degrees. Wind gusts could get as high as 20 miles per hour out of the southwest. Tuesday will be sunny with a high near 68 degrees. North wind 5 to 10 miles per hour could get as high as 25. Tuesday night there will be a little bit more clouds rolling in with a low around 41 degrees. Then on Wednesday it'll be looking mostly sunny, high near 72, and some calm winds in the afternoon.
All right, we, of course, will be keeping track with Tim's picks as he now predicts the Big 12 men's basketball tournament in Kansas City, a.k.a. Iowa State Super Bowl. We have 5 days now. 4 teams get a double bye. 4 teams get a single bye. The other 8 teams will play in round number 1, which starts tomorrow, 11:30 Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, the 12-13.
I will take Cincinnati. I think that they are a better team. I think they've run into some trouble, but they are a better team, and I think they have some hopes of some postseason stuff.
Game 2, the 9 versus the 16. TCU, Colorado at 2 o'clock tomorrow.
Frogs.
Cats, Devils. That tips off at 6 o'clock. Pregame coverage at 5 tomorrow.
I struggled with this, but Wyatt helped me out. He helped remind me that Jaden Quitnitz most likely is not going to play. They have some other guys that may be out. And
BJ
then
Freeman dismissed from the team.
Exactly. Coleman Hawkins is back. K-State should win this.
They should. They absolutely should win this one. All right, our last first-round game, UCF, Utah 11, and UCF 14 seed.
Yeah, give me UCF. I just think that there's, Utah doesn't have a coach. I guess they have a new coach now, but their old coach is gone. I think UCF has some pep.
All right, Wednesday games. These are, it's round 2. Cincinnati, Iowa State has their first matchup.
Yeah, I will concede to the Cyclones here that they're gonna get a win.
Sets up a very interesting quarterfinal matchup. We'll get to that here in a second. All right, our second game, Wednesday at 2 o'clock, TCU, West Virginia.
I will take TCU. I think the Frogs may be on the outside looking in NCAA tournament-wise, may need a couple wins to get back in it. West Virginia's solidly in. I think the Frogs need it.
Can Jerome Tang get some revenge over Scott Drew and the Baylor Bears? That would be 6 o'clock Wednesday, second round.
I wanted to say yes, but I don't think so. I think Baylor's going to do it.
Cats get bounced in the second round, according to Tim. UCF, the Kansas Jayhawks. Remember the first meeting in Allen Fieldhouse.
It was close.
It was a high-scoring game. Nobody was playing defense, and KU snuck out with a victory. Close.
I will give KU the win here.
They are playing right next to Allen Fieldhouse there at the T-Mobile Center.
Exactly.
All right, quarterfinals. These two teams just played actually a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Double overtime. But it's Iowa State, BYU. BYU getting the double bye. How about them backdooring that double bye?
Yeah, and I struggled over this one because, of course, there's going to be Iowa State fans galore, as there always is. It is their Cancun. But I think that BYU's kind of found something. They're scary. I'll take the Cougars.
I asked Wyatt Thompson the question when we were talking to him, who's the most underrated player in the Big 12? And honestly, who's really jumped in my radar, and I'm sure a lot of people, Richie Saunders.
Mm-hmm.
He shot 44% from three this year. 44. He's a scorer. He really 16
Terrifying.
a game, but in Big 12 play, he was off the charts good. But I don't like BYU. So the other quarterfinal game on that first game for Houston, you have them taking on TCU.
I do, and Houston's going to win that one.
Baylor, Texas Tech. Red Raiders playing their first game. It's against Baylor.
This was another tough one. This was probably the second toughest of this round. I got Tech though. I think they'll be ready.
All right, we'll be chalk for the semifinals. To do that, you got to say Rock Chalk goes down to Arizona.
And I do say that. I do indeed.
Yeah, smart pick there. KU done. All right, now it's chalk heading to the court in the semifinals. BYU Houston, the 1-4.
With as hot as BYU has been, I really wanted to pick them. I really did. But if there's a team that's been hotter, as in they've just been themselves the entire season, it's Houston. So I will take the Cougars, the Texas-based Cougars, to beat the Utah-based Cougars.
Texas Tech, Arizona, your final semifinal game. That's that would be at 8:30 on ESPN or ESPN2.
This should be super
Friday.
super fun to watch, super fun game. I will take Arizona.
Curious to know, because I'm sure, of course, these two teams played, because I think Arizona came in, they were undefeated in Big 12 play. Did Tech win that game? I think they did. Yes, they did by 16 points. And then Arizona got the rematch at home and won.
Yeah.
All right, so who's your championship winner?
Just a spoiler, if we do the full bracket, I don't know if anyone's beaten Houston. Give me the Cougars.
Boy, that was unexciting, Tim.
I know, I'm sorry.
My God, I was hoping for upsets. I was hoping for UCF playing in the semifinals. That would be something. All right, we got to wrap it up. I want to thank the boys across the glass. Tim right next to me. Mitch Fortner signing off. Only with you for an hour tomorrow at 4. Go Cats.